Hawks Live is fueled by Georgia Natural Gas. And if I told you, Hawks fans, before this road trip that the Hawks would come out 1-1 against the top two teams in the Eastern Conference, you'd probably think, okay, that's not bad. And yet, you're probably not feeling great right now because of what happened in the second half here in Boston. A 2-point halftime lead devolves into a 7-point loss. That's Brian Oliver. I'm Matt Weiner. Good to have you with us here as we get set to head to the airport for the second of a back-to-back tomorrow against the Sacramento Kings. First, exactly what happened in that second half here tonight?
Well, I think with anything, the Hawks offense, it sputtered like it did in that third quarter against Detroit. And I think that you look at it, I too thought that, hey, if you can come in and split this, that's a pretty successful road trip. But I think that when you came into this game, how well we played against Detroit, you get that win, you realize that Boston's down Jalen Brown, then you figure that, hey, this is a game that we should win, especially when the Hawks race out to a 16-point first quarter lead. But then it was Payton Pritchard and the Boston bench that really came in, gave them that huge shot in the arm. How they were not able to contain him, I thought that was one of the first things that really created a huge issue for them. Second half, combination of the Hawks offense being a little stagnant and them not being able to gain any kind of offensive rhythm was something that really plagued them.
And the rebounds, obviously a huge factor for Boston. And once Pritchard starts hitting shots, and this is true of any good NBA player, it starts opening up things for other players because then all of a sudden the defensive attention is on him.
Yeah, and what it was is that the Hawks really couldn't stop him. I thought that he did a good job in the first half coming in and getting his shot. You knew that he is a guy that can get downhill. Once he was able to do that, then it really kind of got really good for him because when you saw him, he could get any shot he wanted. When you looked at the night for him, 36 points, he had 6 threes, but he really had the Hawks backpedaling on all fronts because normally when you have guys like Dyson Daniels, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, those two are able pretty much to stifle any guard in the league. But when you saw how Payton Pritchard got going, Celtics did a good job of running him off of multiple screens. He was able to get downhill, get that momentum. And when he got going, then it allowed them to be able to get other players going. And one of the things for the Hawks, I thought that outside of defensively, you talked about the rebounding. Celtics out-rebound the Hawks 52-35. Yeah. And I think that that's one of the things that coming into this game, Hawks had pretty much done a really good job with the rebounding. I thought that in the fourth quarter when the Hawks were mounting a comeback, there were about 4 or 5 possessions. You play really good defense, and you're not able to close out the defensive possession with a rebound, gave them another possession, and they ended up scoring.
So often it was Cater or Tatum just skying above everybody else to grab those rebounds. And despite that, because of the low turnover total, the Hawks turned it over just 4 times in this game. They actually ended up taking more shots than the Celtics. Imagine if the rebounding margin were a little closer to even and what opportunities that would present offensively.
And again, I thought that, the Hawks only had 21 assists. And when I see 21 assists for a team that leads the league in assists at north of 30, that tells me it's too much dribbling.
Yep.
And you talked about the fact that they did have a lot of possessions. Hawks had 10 made threes in that first half. You only finished with 15. And when you were not able to get those threes to go, that tells me you're not doing as good a job breaking the paint. You're not getting clean shots. And I thought that was one of the things that you knew about this team for the Celtics. They were going to go ahead and do a good job in how they defended. But in that first half, when the Hawks were able to race out to that 16-point lead, Matt, they did a great job of being able to open up the paint to be able to get those uncontested shots. The ball was moving, and you had guys get in a nice little rhythm. That was one of the things that when you look at the difference from the first half, the 10 for 20, the second half, and the 5 for 22, Hawks were not getting as clean a looks. Celtics did a better job in how they were guarding on ball. But it's one of those things that if you look back at this game, you have to understand that there are 3 things. How you were unable to contain Payton Pritchard, the defensive and offensive rebounding, and then the fact that in that third quarter, you only had 22 points.
Yep, and that was when Pritchard had 13 of his 36. That was the most decisive quarter of the game. Overall, the Hawks offense managed just 34% shooting in that second half. So even though the total three-point numbers don't look bad on paper, 15 of 42 is not a bad percentage for a team. It's the fact that it all went away in the second half. They just couldn't generate the same type of looks and the same type of efficiency while the Celtics kept going. Tatum got going in the second half after being super quiet as he still works his way back, and it was just too much to overcome. We've got more Hawks Live coming up. We'll hear from Quin Snyder in just a little bit. the win streak comes to an end tonight in Boston, both the road streak and the win streak in this building. Lots more ahead here on Hawks Live. Well, the Hawks were minus 12 in the second half, and so they take a loss here in Boston. The rematch coming up on Monday, but first we'll hear from head coach Quin Snyder in the Georgia Natural Gas post-game press conference.
That third quarter, I feel like, was one of the big turning points of tonight. Just seemed things went a little cold for you guys.
Yeah, they had one stretch where they, hit some threes and just rattled it, and I thought we were better offensively than the score indicated. But yeah, there was a couple of stretches like that. One we had, you're not going to hold the lead like we had the whole game, but I thought the third, but we responded. We competed. We just got to play better.
I mean, how do you feel like, especially down the stretch, just like some of the shot making, the shot decisions?
Great looks. I mean,
yeah.
And when you're rebounding and shooting threes, and we had layups that went in and out. So to me, there were a few stretches where they got some offensive rebound putbacks and they hit some shots. It's going to be hard to win the game when you shoot 39% from the field. Is really what it comes down to. And I thought we got some good looks, and frankly, to hold them to 35 threes and to defend that way we did, we just got to be a little better through a lot of things. I don't think there's one thing that's going to really stand out that cost us the game. I just think we got to play better.
Quin, for this team, tough to learn a lesson like this, but boy, what great preparation for what's to come.
Yeah, I think, as I said, on the margins, we're going to be able to look and see the things that we need to do better. And, it's across the board, but I think there'll be some things that stand out. And that's the opportunity right there is to get better and learn from it.
It's interesting when everything was going the Hawks' way early, up 16, it was everything this club's been doing, which is the ball movement and the spacing.
Yeah, there were some times where we didn't have our eyes out when we got into the paint. And, there were times also where our spacing did break down. Those two things impact one another. When you're not spaced, it's hard to pass. When you get in the lane, you've kind of done your job. If you can get your eyes out, it's a chance that we're going to get something better. All right? Okay.
Quin Snyder there on how the offense became discombobulated there in the third quarter in particular. Jalen Johnson had some really good moments in this game and wound up with the numbers to show it.
Well, I like the fact that when he came out in that first half, he did a good job of being able to balance getting his offense, getting his teammates going. And Quin talked about the fact that they did a good job of swinging the ball. One of the guys as a recipient of that was Jalen Johnson. He got the 3-ball to go. And I think in the second half did not have the offensive night to be able to carry over. But for the overall game, you see 29 points, the 9 for 21, the 6 rebounds, and 6 assists. When the Hawks were able to get that first half lead, a lot of it was Jalen Johnson doing his thing, being able to get to the basket, to be able to get his shots. And I thought that Hawks did a good job of giving him the opportunity to be able to get downhill.
Yeah, he finishes with the 29, but it's not enough for the Hawks tonight. FanDuel revisit Jason Tatum, who got hot in the second half after a very slow start.
Well, I think a lot of it was because of the numbers that Payton Pritchard put up. You had to guard him, and then they did a good job of putting him in position. I thought in that third quarter, did a good job of trying to give Jason Tatum a lot of touches. When he was able to get right there in the middle of the lane, got that little runner to go. Once he got a couple of buckets to go, then you saw the rest of his game come back. This is a guy that you still think that is really trying to work his way back into shape. But we saw time and time again some vintage Jason Tatum, his ability to get to the free throw line. You saw his numbers of 26 points. It's the rebounding that I thought was huge for them too. And at the end of the shot clock, came up with some clutch buckets for the Celtics.
He's such a tough cover, and I talked to Dyson Daniels before the game about guarding him. You want to be physical with him. He pointed out he doesn't have the quickest first step in the world, but he's very good at the little bump to get space.
He's shifty too.
And his footwork is impeccable.
Yep.
and you saw more of that in the second half. You also saw more screening action for him to get switches on different defenders in that second half. Boston takes round 3 of 4 with the conclusion coming up on Monday night back at State Farm Arena. More Hawks Live on the other side here from Beantown. Hawks dropped to 41-33 on the season, 1-2 against the Celtics with a chance to even up that season series on Monday night as we check the Xfinity upcoming schedule. So both the Hawks and Celtics will play 3 games in 4 nights. The difference is the Hawks back-to-back is tonight and tomorrow back at home against the struggling Kings. Meanwhile, the Celtics will be at State Farm on Monday after playing in Charlotte on Sunday night, then a quick road trip to Orlando and Brooklyn before the Knicks come to town next week. So again, 1-1 split, Detroit, Boston. That's pretty good. Pretty good. Toronto was, I should double check, winning last I looked, and Miami lost.
Oh, yeah, they got blown out by
They were getting blown out by the Cavaliers. Double checking on Toronto. But again, you're going to be scoreboard watching. You're going to be standings watching from here on out.
But here's the thing. I think quick turnaround for tomorrow's game. I think that you learn some lessons, but you have to set your sights on the Kings tomorrow. You can ill afford to come in with a lax type of effort and let them sneak up on you because, again, that's a double whammy. You talk about the fact that you get to split on the road. You go back and take care of your business, and then you learn your lesson, and there's some tweaks that you have to make from Monday's game. I think that for the Hawks, we talk about the fact that you look as you got 8 more games.
Yeah.
You have to take care of one at a time. You're still in a position where you control your own destiny. You just have to continue to play well, and then you let the results kind of handle themselves.
We can look at the schedule.
Yes.
They should.
They should.
They should not. Raptors up 15, by the way, in the third quarter. Oh, right. Thank you for the update, Steve Timlin. It started out so well here on the parquet for the Hawks, a 5-point halftime lead. It evaporated in the third quarter, and Payton Pritchard's fingerprints are all over it for the Celtics. He had 36 at times, the best player on the floor. Atlanta could do nothing with him, but they'll see him again on Monday. We'll see you tomorrow for pregame ahead of the Hawks and the Kings.